Mom and Dad were at Freehome for, I think, 38 years. I believe that was the number, and Dad was principal for most of those years. In reflecting upon all of that time devoted to the students and devoted to the community where they lived initially and where they started a church and continued to attend church and, of course, to work for all those years, it was really a central point in their life. One of the things I remember from home was how our dinner talk often ended. It seems like every night as we were sitting there having dinner around the table, Derek and I would be listening to Mom and Dad talk, and we would always wind up talking about what was going on at Freehome and then what had gone on at Freehome. And they would start reminiscing about all of the students that had gone there in the past, and we would talk about different things. Judy Milford's name came up a lot. What a great two-handed free throw shooter she was, I believe, was one of those things. I remember Scotty Bursmith's name coming up. Of course, names like Lovelace and McClure and others were quite common around our dinner table. The thing was that it seemed like every night when Mom and Dad were finishing up, they would get way back before my brother and I could remember what was going on and talking about these students that were, 10, 15 years older than us easily or more. And they would wind up getting in some disagreement about who did what when, or who was in what class, or who played on what sport, or I don't know what it was, but it was always something that they would wind up sort of in a disagreement about, and they could get kind of huffy with each other about who was the first one to do this, or who went to this class, and all these kinds of things. It was really kind of hilarious when I look back on it. My brother and I even then kind of would look at each other and just kind of get up and leave the dinner table as they were debating amongst themselves as to who had done what when and how and why. So it was really quite an interesting thing now to think about in hindsight after all of these years. Of course, sports were a big part of what Dad enjoyed. Particularly, I believe they used to have a football team years before I was old enough to play. But certainly the basketball team continued to play, and I was able to play on it during my years in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But it was really important for Dad to have that outlet for sports. He'd been a boxer himself. He loved the athletics, and he wanted to see young people grow and learn teamwork and learn various skills, because these were important things in life going forward, to learn how to cooperate with your teammates in order to accomplish a particular goal. I would remember them telling us how they would have to drive all over the area in order to pick up kids from various places in order to bring them to the ball games or get them to practice or get them home from one of the two. So that was just a different day and age. One of the most underrated things that they did for the kids at the school was to hold the 8th grade graduation. Now, I didn't appreciate this when I was in 8th grade. I thought it was kind of silly. I didn't understand the larger reasons behind this. In fact, I even asked Mom and Dad one time why we did this. And they told me, for some of these kids, this will be the only graduation that they ever have. So they wanted them to have that graduation experience. But it also taught some larger life lessons. It taught you that there was an appropriate way to dress, an appropriate way to walk, an appropriate way to speak, and an appropriate way to act in larger society. And this was something the whole student body could participate in. So they were really trying to set you up for success in the workplace or wherever else you might be by learning to conform to certain norms and standards that you needed to know in order to be a good employee or just a good customer, or to otherwise function well in society.
We're going to have to leave you now, AM listeners, but you FM listeners, hang on for more basketball action.
This is WCHK AM and FM in Canton, Georgia. At this time, WCHK AM will leave the air. We'll return tomorrow morning, but WCHK FM is on the air till midnight tonight. Please switch your radio to WCHK FM 105.5 megahertz. WCHK AM and FM, Canton, Georgia.
Rebound by Wheeler. Wheeler to Chandler. Chandler across the timeline, works to Wheeler on the side. Wheeler to Chandler in the corner. Drive into the lane. Shot up by Wheeler, it's good, and it's a 2-2 ball game. Very close ball game. 4-2, Macedonia on top. Shot up by Chandler, it's good, and it's a 4-3 ball game. This is going to be a close one.
Tony Gilbert at the free throw line. Gilbert has a chance to put the Rockets on top. Wheeler with the ball. 13 seconds showing on the clock. 12, 11, 10. They work it in. The Chandler shot up, does not go. Rebound Brock, puts it back up, and there'll be a foul charge too. Shot up by Brock. It's good. It's 28-27 with the ball. Phillips very quickly down court. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Nicholson underneath the goal. Shot up. Does not go. He didn't get the last second shot. It's a good try on the part of Macedonia, but it did not go. Freeholm 28, Macedonia 27.
For the winning Freeholm Rockets, coached by Wayman Goodman, they had 28 total points. Chris Chandler and Darris Brock both had 9 points. Chandler's came off of 2 field goals, 5 out of 7 foul shots. Darris Brock had 4 field goals and only went to the line 1 time. He was 1 for 2, but that was the winning basket at the end of the game. Kurt Wheeler had 8 points coming off of 2 field goals, 4 out of 6 foul shots. Harold Bob had 1 field goal for 2 points. So your final score, Freeholm over Macedonia, 28-27.
Not many people may know this about Dad, but after school he would come home and he would change his clothes and he would immediately go out and start making rounds on the farm. He loved to watch the cows eat. He loved to watch the horses. He loved to watch the chickens and the ducks and all of these things he loved to raise. And he loved, of course, gardening. Gardening was his favorite summertime hobby. But he was out there in good weather and bad weather, watching these animals, observing their actions, knowing who was high in the pecking order, and all of these sort of things that the rest of us just didn't really care much about. One day we were talking about this thing, and he says, you know, I just like to watch things grow. And he said it didn't matter if it was animals or if it was kids or if it were crops. He enjoyed watching things grow. And I think that's the reason that he devoted himself so much to Freeholm and to the children there, because he wanted to see these young people grow and to develop and to blossom and to become successful adults and productive human beings, to raise themselves up above where they started and to finish well. And I think he would be very happy to know that so many of you have done just that. You've grown, you've matured, and you've finished well. And I'm sure he would love to know that the school continues to work in that tradition. Thank you all, and God bless you.